What we've noticed is, as you're depressed or disempowered, and you reach for an angry thought, you might not have even reached very hard for it. It came easily to you, and you felt the relief of it. If you can stop in that relief and say, this is an improvement, I have deliberately made improvement, now you'll stabilize in that different vibration, and now you have access to an even less angry thought. So now if you reach for an even less angry thought, you'll feel the relief of that less angry thought. And as you stabilize there and continue your mantra of, I'm going to continue to make the best of where I am, I'm going to continue to reach for the best feeling thought, you might find an outrageously frustrating thought, which is relief from that angry thought. And as you stabilize, as you take the time to stop and pat yourself on the back and say, I am feeling better, I'm feeling better. I feel so much better than the depression that I had 2 days ago. And I feel even better than the anger that I wallowed around in all day yesterday. And this feeling of frustration is a big improvement over where I've been. Now you continue your steady progress until from frustration you can go to mild aggravation. And from mild aggravation you can go to a sensation of slight hopefulness. And from slight hopefulness you can go to a vibration of, well, maybe it could possibly be. And from that vibration you could go to a feeling of maybe expecting or maybe even recognizing how many good things are happening for you, into a feeling of belief that it really is going to get better, into a feeling of knowing that you are in charge of your life experience. And that's a long way from that suffocating grief that you were in only 2 or 3 days ago. But the point that we're making to you is you cannot be guided from the outside in. Some bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, lollipop, sunshine and roses Abraham person cannot know how far you've come because they weren't there with you vibrationally. They were on the outside of your vibrational meter, and while they mean well, they don't know. Didn't that feel good? Sometimes, friends, in this wildly exaggerated, contrastive, comparative, co-creative experience in which you are all focused, there are things that are happening around you that you do not want to happen. People you love die. People starve in parts of the world. Your dear cat gets run over. All kinds of things that you would not choose if you felt you had every choice to make happen around you within your view of seeing them. And you cannot put your head in the sand. You cannot isolate yourself to some place where you are unaware. You want to be in the world. You want to use it as the creative platform. And so in order to survive in joy, you've got to find a way to be in charge of how you feel. You've got to show yourself that even with all of this happening, that you can focus in a way that makes you feel terrible, or you can focus in a way that makes you feel less terrible. And if you focus in a way that makes you feel less terrible, then you can focus in a way that makes you feel less terrible. And if you can focus in a way that makes you feel less terrible, you can focus in a way that makes you feel less terrible. Until before you know it, you don't feel so terrible. You even start to feel a little good. You even start to feel often good, really good, exaltedly good, irrationally good by the standards of those who are around you. You can train yourself into a vibration of such perfection that law of attraction will match you up only with those things that are a vibrational match to who you are. But you got to start somewhere. And most importantly, you must stop beating up on yourself for wherever you are, because wherever you are is just fine. It's only a temporary place and you can move from it. You've got to stop saying what I'm doing is inappropriate. You've got to stop beating up on yourself and feeling embarrassment about not having enough money, or about being too fat, or about not being able to control your bodily functions. You've got to stop beating up on yourself about where you are and start appreciating what is going well about where you are. If your new mantra is, I'm going to start beating the drum that feels better. I'm going to start making the best of things, making the best of things, making the best of things. Sometimes you make the worst of things, and you do it on purpose. And do you know why you do it? You make the worst of it because you don't like where you are, and you're complaining about where you are, and other people are seeing you where you are, and you think that you should explain how you got to where you are. So you keep making an exaggerated worst of things in order to explain why you're not in a better place. And we say, don't do that. Because when you make the worst of it, instead of moving from not feeling so good into a better and better and better and better and better feeling place, when you're making the worst of it, you're moving into a worse place. As we are moving forward here today, we want to assist you in recognizing where you are vibrationally. We want to help you to find conscious awareness of what you are doing with your vibration. And if you are consciously aware of how you are feeling, then you will have the opportunity, if you want to, of reaching for the thought that feels even better. And that really is the most powerful tool that we could ever give anyone, because when you think about it, I am my vibrational center, and everything that's happening to me is coming in response to the vibration that I'm emitting. So if I'm aware of the vibration that I'm emitting, and I'm constantly reaching for a better vibration, then is not my life on all fronts improving in a steady way? And we say, yes, it has to be. So sometimes, by virtue of what you're observing in your experience or those up close to you, around you, you see something that, let us say for the sake of our example, makes you feel powerless. It makes you feel maybe vulnerable. Let's say that the emotion that you feel is one of powerlessness or depression. Now, the reason that we are starting there is because we know the powerful being that you are, and we know the intention that you came forth into this physical experience, and we know that there is nothing that will feel worse to you than the opposite of that which you really are. And that which you really are is source energy. That which you really are is freedom expressing here and now. So the very worst feeling emotion has to be that suffocating feeling when you feel lack of control. And the emotion that you often describe when you are offering that vibration, we hear you use words like grief or words like betrayal or words like depression. The words don't matter so much. There's only two emotions. One feels good and one feels bad, and then there's that infinite range in between. You have lots of different names for the way you feel along this continuum, but let us say, for sake of this example, that deep depression, that feeling of grief, that feeling of not being able to do something about it, that powerless, lost feeling, let us describe that as the most disconnected vibration that you can achieve. So there you are in your depression. Now, the thing that we want you to hear is, you might come to an Abraham gathering, or you might talk with someone who has been to one, and in your depression, as they're observing you, they might say to you, hey, you got to think some happy thoughts. You need to cheer up. You need to stop being so negative. In which case, you might want to say to them, you need to drop dead, because you don't have access to that bright, happy thought or feeling, even though you have thought happy things before, even though you have had access to happy thoughts at other times. In this moment of that vibration that feels like it's sucking the life right out of you, you don't have access to that bright, happy thought. So what we want you to hear in this quest for reconnecting to who you really are is, the best you can do is reach for the best you can do. In other words, the best you can do is find the best thought you can find. And maybe a thought of rage or anger is the best thought that you can find. Sometimes that angry thought that you discover is a big improvement over the suffocating grief that you were feeling before. You see what we're getting at? Now, somebody who does not understand the components of your grief, who really doesn't like to see somebody who's angry, might say to you, your anger is inappropriate. In which case, we advise you to tell them, again, to drop dead, because they don't know how far you've come. They cannot know the improvement that you have found. They don't know how much better that anger is than that grief that you were feeling just moments before. Now, if your intention is to reach for the best feeling thought that you can find, and you have found the relief, don't let somebody tell you that it isn't. You know that it is. But now don't give up on your quest to reach for a better feeling. Keep reaching. So something happens, you observe it, you take the hit, it doesn't feel good, and then you are embarrassed because you have negative emotion. Do you feel embarrassment when your gas tank indicator tells you that you're on empty? Or do you just go get some more gas? You don't condemn your indicator for telling you that you need more fuel. And we want you to stop condemning your indicator that's telling you you need more connection to source energy. In other words, that's all it's telling you. Something you're focused on right now is not a vibrational match to who you really are. You might want to fill up with some better feeling thoughts so that you are more of a match to who you really are. So when you are realizing that your emotions are your friend, your emotions are letting you know what you are doing vibrationally. Your emotion is letting you know how full of who you really are you are, or how much you are pinching off who you really are. You know what negative emotion is? Negative emotion is how you feel when you've chosen a thought that your inner being doesn't agree with. If your inner being is in agreement with your thought, your inner being joins you fully and you feel full. You feel radiant, you feel clear-minded, you feel vibrant, you feel energy, you feel joyous, you feel passion, you feel love, you feel appreciation. When you are choosing a thought that your inner being and all that is source joins you in, you feel fabulous. But when you choose a thought that is you out here on your screwy leading edge, choosing something that is absolutely incomprehensible in terms of what source knows to be. Things like, I'm bad, or I'm unworthy, or I'm not blessed. Things like, I'm not good enough, or I'm not smart enough. Things like, I should have done something differently, and now because I have done something differently, now I'm in a condemned, unblessed place. When you choose those thoughts and you beat the drum of them, you just hold yourself out there in the darkness for a while. Not because light is not shining all over you, it is, but you put up your big umbrella shade and you're just keeping yourself separated from the source that is really you, from the source that is always beaming to you, from the source that is always available to you. Now, what you're hearing from us here today is we want you to stop beating up on yourself when you get yourself in that predicament, because it's only temporary. We want you to then stop in the middle of all of this and say, what's the best feeling thought that I can find? And when you stumble upon the angry thought that felt better than the thought of depression or grief that you had before, then hold your ground by saying, this is an improvement and I have done well. When you feel your progress, when you take that first step, then you can take the second, and then the third, and then the fourth. And then you come to realize that it's an infinite, always stepping. As you are traveling from San Diego to Phoenix, down Interstate 8, beautiful drive across the desert. About halfway is Yuma. Not much to do there. No great restaurants. It's never the place Jerry and Esther decide to stay. But they pass through Yuma every time on their way. When they get to Yuma, they don't belittle themselves for not being in Phoenix. They accept that it's part of the journey. So when you are in your angry place, don't belittle yourself for not being in your joy, because it's just part of the journey. Instead, accept it as part of the journey. Take charge of the journey. In other words, can you imagine somebody finding themselves in Yuma and just collapsing? I wanted to be in Phoenix, and here I am in Yuma. I'm a failure. People call you on your cell phone. Are you in Phoenix? No. I'm in Yuma. Oh, I'm so sorry for you, they say. I know how much you wanted to be in Phoenix. You don't panic and just keep driving back and forth between San Diego and Yuma. You accept that you're partway there. And you don't beat up on yourself for being partway there. You accept that you're partway there, and you take pride in the journey that you've made already. And you take solace in the fact that if you've come this far, you can go further. You are in charge of the thoughts that you think, and you are in the charge of the way you feel. And once you discover that, once you say, I'm in charge, once you're mad on purpose, once you have convinced yourself that you've chosen the thought of anger, then you know that you can choose the thought of frustration, and oh, what a lovely thought that will be. You can choose the thought of overwhelmment, and oh, what a lovely thought that would be in relationship to those other thoughts that you've thought along the way.